You see, he was somehow successful when he was close to God. He brought the country to the zenith of success, in that the country became rich, it became also renowned, and it was also expanded in terms of territorial gain. He was so successful in that line. But then you see now, with success also comes with challenges. And even Ellen White, I think, somewhere says that with greater responsibility comes, with greater power comes more responsibility. So this gentleman, in his failure, he went about to go and marry foreign wives, some of them coming from the royalty of the surrounding nations. That means the kingdoms that were surrounding. And these women became so instrumental in his failure as a king. Now, he set a precedent that was picked up by his son Rehoboam after the death of this wise man, because I even wonder how he could manage to manage 1,000 women when we are living in a world where people are even having a difficult time dealing with one woman. But this gentleman was so much into women that he could manage 1,000 wives. And so these women were instrumental in bringing him down. Now, his son picked her from where the father was. Remember, with such a big burden, of around 1,000 women living in the royal palace, and also the success of the nation, it meant that people were suppressed, or they were oppressed. They were forced to give in form of taxation to support the lifestyle of the king. And so we see Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, picked up from where the father was. And he also failed miserably because that lavish way of living came at a cost. It drained the agrarian economy because these people were dependent so much on the agriculture in an area which is not known for so much agriculture. And so the cost of maintaining the children of these women and even the women themselves was so heavy on the citizenry that the local people, the ordinary guys, were so much taxed. So when the father died, it was so natural for the citizenry to appeal to the young ruler to listen to them. But Rehoboam, instead of listening to the pleas of the people, he chose to harden his way because he was a spoiled child. He was born in the palace. He was arrogant. And so finally the kingdom was divided. And so we have Rehoboam picking up. And once he picks up, the kingdom becomes divided. And so Samuel, even remember, even the Bible, Samuel had predicted in 1 Samuel chapter 1, 1 Samuel chapter 8 and verses 18, he had predicted that, and you shall cry out in that day because of your king, which he shall have chosen you. I'll repeat it again. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king, which he shall have chosen you. And the Lord will not hear you in that day. That is King James Version. That is why it's a little bit difficult to read. But we find that even the prophet had predicted that the king that will be appointed, the kings that will be appointed, will be taxing people. They will force people to do stuff, and such that at one point they will be crying out. And so we have a failure of the kings, including brother Solomon, all the way now to Rehoboam. And Rehoboam failed to pick up on the signals that people are discontent with the way the leadership was going. He failed, and as a result of not listening to people, the kingdom, of course, was divided. And so we have the 10 tribes calling a man who was on the run, who was in Egypt by the name Jeroboam. They called him and said, "Come and be a ruler among us." And they called him at Bethel. Now, Bethel was a very significant place. Beth in Hebrew means house. El means God. Bethel, the house of God. This is a unique place because you remember Father Jacob, the father of the nation, Israel himself, when he was running, as he was running in the desert alone, he reached Bethel, and this is where he laid his head, and he had a dream of a ladder that was connecting heaven and earth. And so it was a special place. So it was a significant place. The 10 tribes which were in the northerns, in the northern part of Israel, they all commune together at Bethel. Now Bethel is actually in the southern part of the northern kingdom. It is somewhere near close the southern kingdom, of course. And so they appointed him as king, Jeroboam. Now Jeroboam became king, but he was insecure. He was insecure because remember, even the reason why people even appointed him is not so much because of anything else. It is because he was a charismatic leader, he was a pragmatic leader, and he appeared to command authority. And so when they saw him, they were impressed by him and the experience that he had serving in the court of the king. That is what they looked at. And you see, appearances can be so deceiving. So many times we appoint people, even as elders or even as pastors, based on their appearances and the way they do things. And so we have this Jeroboam coming up and being appointed as king and ruler over the 10 tribes in the northern part of the kingdom. And so he comes to the throne with this insecurity that even the gentleman who caused this split can change his mind. That is Rehoboam. Maybe possibly he can change his mind, and with that, you know, he can easily again consolidate together the kingdom, the broken kingdom. And so he came with an intention to consolidate power to himself. And so one issue came up for him. He had the political power and the political will of the people that he was leading. They are the ones who appointed him. But one thing that now was standing in the way, he did not have the religious will or the spiritual will of the people. Now, Jerusalem at this time was a legitimate center, the quarter of the religious part of the religious element of the kingdom of Israel. So remember also in Leviticus as well as in Deuteronomy, there's express command for the people of God to go, for the male men to go up to Jerusalem for the 3 main feasts of